The fox darted past, scattering the stone pile Remy had built with such precision. "Move faster." The fox snarled. "You'll never belong here, Remy." With that, he leapt into the bushes and vanished into the mist. Remy lowered his gaze, holding back tears. A crow landed on a low branch, its eyes fixed on the riverbank. "You are just a shadow, Remy." "You have no spark," the crow cawed, pecking at the bark. Remy sat motionless. He gripped his tail, his skin cold from the rising river mist. He stayed there as the light dimmed, watching the water churn against the reeds. Then, a slow, deliberate rustle broke the silence. A wise traveling turtle crawled into the clearing, shell scraping against the earth, and stopped near the water's edge. The creature rested its weight against an oak tree and tilted its head. "The world is loud, but it is hollow," the turtle whispered. "Beyond the whispering hills lies the Heartlight. It reveals your true self." The words hung in the damp air. Remy looked at the path leading away from the river. He did not wait for the sun to rise. He gathered a few berries and a crust of bread into a leaf, turned his back on the river, and stepped toward the hills. The trail grew steep. Every step tugged at his muscles, but the goal pushed him forward. Near a sun-drenched pond, the peacock stood, fanning feathers wide in a blinding display. "Watch me, Remy," the bird hissed. "To be someone, you must be seen." Remy tried to puff out his chest to match the display, but his balance failed. He caught his foot on a gnarled root and collapsed into the dirt, coughing as dust filled his nose. He scrambled up, heart hammering, only to find the parrot circling above. The bird screeched, "You are too quiet. To matter, you must strike hard with your voice." Remy pulled his lungs full of air and pushed, attempting to release a roar, but only a thin, shaky squeak escaped. The parrot banked away, leaving him alone in the silence. He climbed higher, his breath coming in ragged, painful gasps. His paws burned, his side ached. Every time he tried to act like the others, he tripped, stumbled, or faded into the background. He looked down at his own trembling hands, feeling smaller than when he had started. The forest seemed to stretch upward forever, and with every failed imitation, he felt his own presence slipping away into the shadows of the trees. The final incline was a jagged vertical climb. Remy pulled himself over the ridge, his claws scraping against cold slate, until he collapsed onto the flat floor of the summit cave. The air here was thin, biting, and tasted of ancient stone. In the center of the dark space sat the Heartlight Lantern. It rested on a pedestal of weathered rock, casting a soft, rhythmic pulse that threw his own shadow against the walls. He did not move. The silence was absolute, a heavy weight that pressed against his chest. He crept forward, his paws trembling on the grit. Every pulse of the light felt like a heartbeat he did not own. He reached out, then pulled his hand back, gripping his own fur. What if the light revealed nothing? What if the accusations of the forest were right, and he was merely a hollow vessel with no core to illuminate? He looked at the lantern, then at his own empty palms. The fear was cold, a physical tightness in his throat. Sharper than the climb, he was terrified that the light would confirm the worst, that he was a shadow and nothing more. He braced himself, closed his eyes, and stretched his fingers toward the glow. His pads brushed the cool glass. The lantern did not wait. It flared, a sudden golden bloom that pushed the cave shadows into nothingness. Remy flinched, but the light did not burn. It pulsed, and with every throb, a scene unspooled. He saw the tall grass of the riverbank, the way he had once nudged a lost, duckling back toward the water, shielding it from the biting wind. The lantern deepened into a rich, warm orange. His breath hitched. The scene shifted. A winter night, snow piling against the roots, and he was pushing his own small portion of food toward a shivering, starving bird. The light erupted into a brilliant, steady white beam, blinding and absolute. He saw himself in the dark, during the worst of the summer storms, sitting patiently beside a frightened rabbit. He held the small paw, his touch steady, waiting until the thunder faded to silence. The cave walls vanished in the radiance. Remy stood at the center of the glow, his hands no longer shaking. The doubt that had held him for so long dissolved, replaced by a sudden, solid weight in his chest. He looked at his own hands, then into the heart of the lantern. He was not a shadow. He was the one who cared. Remy turned away from the light and began the long descent. His gait was no longer erratic. His paws struck the earth with rhythmic precision. The mountain air cleared, replaced by the scent of damp moss and river water. When he reached the familiar bend of the Moonbeam River, the fox was there, crouched in the mud, sneering as he watched Remy approach. "Back so soon, Shadow? Still empty-handed?" The fox barked a sharp, mocking laugh, expecting a tremble or a retreat. Remy did not stop. He did not raise his voice. He simply reached down, picked up a smooth, river-polished stone, and placed it firmly in the center of the fox's trail. He walked past, eyes bright and steady, leaving the fox staring at the stone in silence. A group of forest animals had gathered near the bank, watching the encounter. A young squirrel approached, trembling, and asked how he had found his strength. Remy paused, looking at the circle of waiting faces. He pointed to the squirrel's chest. "Stop looking at the others," Remy said, his voice quiet, but carrying clearly over the water. "Look at what you do when no one is watching. That is your light." He walked on, leaving the riverbank transformed.